Hello, good evening, and welcome to Business Live with me, Emmanuel Abuaji-Wiafe. Coming up in tonight's edition, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry urges the incoming MPP administration to consider reducing interest rates to at least 18%. Deputy Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Eko Afeji, says appropriate strategies are being explored to revamp the stock market. And the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has warned the country may face more power crisis by next year. Thank you very much for staying with me on Business Live, and we bring you this package, of course, the stories in the headline and of also some other stories making headlines in the world of business. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the details. Now, in our first story, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Nana Appiah Dankwa-Oso I, says the incoming MPP administration should consider reducing interest rates to at least 18% in the short term for industries to thrive and remain competitive. Latest reports by the World Bank on the ease of doing business saw Ghana go up by 3 places to 108 out of 199 countries. The central bank has consistently increased or maintained the policy rate at 26%, a situation which has influenced soaring interest rates by commercial banks. But speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Nana Appiah Dankwa also said the incoming administration should consider implementing prudent fiscal policies that will ensure the growth and competitiveness of local industries.
The Chamber of Commerce, as a leader of the private sector, will be looking at certain things that will push businesses to thrive and thrive well on short term, medium term, and long term. And on that, on the short term, we'll be looking at tax initiatives. I think the Private Enterprise Federation talked about tax regime, and I think taxes are on the very high side so far as we are concerned, and we expect that some of these taxes will be brought down, and secondly, the tax base will be widened so that they will get what is expected of them to use those monies to develop the nation. If it's reduced, it has a long-term effect on the prices and the cost of production as well, because most of the industries in this country import raw materials. Those that are not even imported, it's difficult to come by. And so if there's reduction of taxes on imports, it also brings down cost of production. And in the long run, the prices of goods and services will also come down. Yeah. So I think it will have effect on the economy as well. If you want to increase production of cocoa, there's no way you can use 3 months or 6 months to do that. You need to come up with interventions, and so the effect will be within the maybe after 1 year or 2 years. So on the interest rate, if to come down to about 18% or even less, we will appreciate that, because more people will want to put their money into businesses so that a lot of people can get something to do, and also they'll be able to pay the interest on time. You could see a lot of litigations at the court because people are not able to pay principal plus their interests because businesses are not good. But what I also expect is that they continue to create enabling environment for the private sector to thrive.
Now, ADB Bank has become the 10th bank to list on the stock market and the 36th company to trade on the local bourse. The bank opened today at a price of 2 Ghana cedis 65 pesos per share. ADB managed to raise about 325 million cedis during its initial public offering. Earlier in the day, George Wiafe had an interaction with the Deputy Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Eko Afeji, who was upbeat ADB will achieve its targets.
As we speak, 3,000 shares have been traded at the price of 2.85 cedis, a gain of 20 pesos from 2.65. That's the price it at the IPO level. So that is ADB trading happening today. But going back, they've listed about 230 million shares on the market. They were able to raise about 325 million, which is one of the biggest IPOs we've ever had on our market. And also ADB becomes the 40th listed company on the exchange, 36 for the main market, then 4 for the alternative market, which is quite a landmark and quite significant because we're looking out to get more companies so that we can cross the 50 mark as quickly as possible. We're going to have another bank coming up next week, so gradually we are moving on in terms of getting more listings on the market.
Meanwhile, ADB has assured its local interests is protected despite institutional investors picking up significant stake in the bank. ADB earlier this week ended its initial public offering with some foreign firms securing significant interest in the bank, raising concerns that the institution could soon lose its Ghanaian holding. But speaking to Joy Business, as the bank began trading a little over 122 million shares on the stock market, Managing Director Daniel Esiedu said there is no cause for alarm.
All the institutional investors are Ghanaian companies, and then government indirectly still controls over 50% of the shares. So I talked about Government of Ghana 32.298, SIC Financial Services, which we can assume to be indirect holding for government, it's about 10. And you have Bank of Ghana 9.5. So when you consolidate that, it's over 52%. So that clearly government still holds majority shares in this. So we'll still maintain our founding mandate of ensuring that we concentrate on agric.
I think that those concerns is not an issue at all for those who are worried that we have a foreign investor coming in and still not helping the focus of the bank at ADB.
Like I said, it's not a worry because once government is a majority shareholder in the bank, it's not a problem. And again, let me emphasize that all the other institutional investors are local companies, local investors, so it's not a problem. But the most important thing is that government directly and indirectly controls the bank.
And away from the stock market, sources picked up from persons close to the MPP by Joy Business indicates the incoming government may renegotiate some sections of the IMF program with Ghana. Now, George Wiafe has more on some of the areas that could be reviewed before the program ends by December 2017.
Joy Business understands that one of the areas that could witness some changes is how government should go about reducing the budget deficit, which sources say could be reaching 9%, higher than what has been projected under the IMF program, and also the public debt, which has reached 112 billion Ghana cedis as of September this year. Sources say the NPP administration sees the fiscal consolidation program as being too sharp, and they will push for it to be reviewed. They also report that the public financial management law, which is seen as one of the pillars under the IMF program, will be reviewed because the incoming administration doesn't see it as being too strong to bring about the necessary fiscal prudence in the NPP government going forward. Joy Business is also learning that the renegotiation will look at how the program can really work, so the new administration will end the year with some good macroeconomic targets. Sources say there's been some agreement at the board level of the IMF to engage the NPP administration on their concerns. This, sources say, has been influenced by speculations that the IMF program is not actually working or getting the desired results when it comes to stabilizing the economy and achieving the required macroeconomic target.
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Joabi is cautioning the next administration about the aspects of its May review to ensure that policy credibility is not compromised under the fund program.
If you say you want to amend, there were some things that, frankly, we didn't prepare properly before we got into this thing. If you look at the whole way in which we got ourselves in the program, we were confidently saying that we have our own homegrown policies, which we are following. Then came the announcement in August 2014 that the president had directed that we should seek a bailout from the IMF. Many Ghanaians did not understand or ask, what's the meaning, what's the bailout? And my talking to people said they thought we were going to get big bucks, 3 billion, 4 billion from the IMF. IMF doesn't dole out billions like that. So what we went really, the bailout was a policy credibility, because we have been setting policy targets and missing them in 2013 and 2014. So that is what we went for. And the policy credibility says that when you set a target, you are going to be committed to achieving the target. What we didn't prepare properly is that the private sector should have been on the roll as the source of jobs in a credible way, which means priority being given to the power supply problem. Okay, so if you don't solve it, it's talk. We need to get our private sector moving again and generating jobs, especially if the financial constraints mean that government cannot really be employing 300,000 kids into the system. What are we telling them?
So do you think it's a prudent thing to go ahead and review some of the portions of the program, or hold on to it?
No, but I'd like to see what portions we're talking about, because the world is not good. You got a program, and you are being praised for sticking with the program. If you say, we've reached the point, okay, if you ask that question that bluntly, then it is up to the new government, the MPP, to spell out which areas they intend to reopen for negotiation. Because if you don't do that, you create uncertainty.
You're watching Business Live. Moving on, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has warned the country may face more power challenges next year. In a report released by the energy think tank, the danger the power sector faces in 2017 could be attributed to a potential disruption in gas supply as a result of the departure of the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah for major maintenance works. This release, the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, cautions the danger the power sector faces in 2017 will be attributed to a potential disruption in gas supply. The report, titled Beyond 2016 Elections, Energy Sector Priorities, further warned that fuel supply insecurity is likely to continue in 2017. It pointed out that the new administration must tackle as a matter of urgency challenges in the power sector, since power supply from the nation's hydropower sources are still dim. The report explained that the insecurity has been heightened by a low supply of hydropower due to low levels of water in the Akonsombo and the Kpong retrofitting projects. The report explained that the insecurity has been heightened by low supply of hydropower due to low levels of water in the Akonsombo Dam and the Kpong retrofitting project. According to the Outlook, quote, fuel supply has become more challenging as thermal generation will continue to dominate the sector, unquote, attributing the inability of the Asogli power plant to suspension of gas supply from Nigeria due to Ghana's indebtedness to the West Africa Gas Pipeline WAPCO and NGAS. ACEP projects a lot of uncertainty for the sector due to the decision to permanently moor the FPSO, which will lead to suspension of oil and gas supply from the Jubilee fields for 3 months starting from April 2016. With the FPSO down, power supply from Ameri and Abuaze power plants could be compromised, even though government has promised to substitute Jubilee gas with TEN gas. ACEP contends that at 50 million standard cubic feet of gas, 10 will not be enough to completely substitute for Jubilee gas, as most of the non-associated gas found in the Trinidad Reserve will be ready in late 2017. Senior female researchers from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, have called on agribusiness industry players to adopt the use of research works to boost productivity. This follows concern by agribusiness players on the high incidence of post-harvest losses and low yields in agriculture. Senior member of the CSIR, Matilda Eyim Akuno, says this is due to the negligence on the part of farmers towards the use of research materials. She spoke with Joy Business at the launch of a directory for senior female members at the council.
For us in the CSIR, we do our best because we have to look at the agenda of the government for the day. What does the government want to achieve in terms of agricultural productivity? And how can we use our research to help achieve those objectives or goals set by the government? So whatever we do, it's in line with government policies. And also we also advise the government on certain policies that he could also put up that will help the farmers in terms of their productivity and then also in terms of enhancing food production in the country. Now we know that as farmers keep animals, there are lots of diseases that affect them. What I use my research to do is to mitigate the effects that these diseases have on the animals. Now, if you treat the animal very well, then the animal is able to increase. And then if it has to lay eggs at around 16 weeks, it starts dropping the eggs at 16 weeks. Then the farmer is getting his eggs, he's selling, he's making money, and then the nation's food security is also being attained.
The new entrant into the banking industry, Premium Bank, says it is ready to meet the new capital requirement to be determined by the central bank. The Bank of Ghana has initiated moves to increase the minimum capital for banks to about 500 million Ghana cedis. There's more in this report.
Formerly called City Investment Company Limited, it evolved into a bank after operating as a finance house with a focus on small and medium enterprises in the last 20 years. The head of finance and strategy, Ellen Abua, tells Joy Business the bank is well positioned to satisfy the new capital requirement despite being new in the industry.
We raised 113 million. Okay, we came from a capital base of 7 million to get to the 120 million required of us to become a bank. What stops us from getting the additional one that Bank of Ghana is asking us to do? We've done it before, we can do it. Our shareholders are ready. In fact, we got the hints when we were raising the money, so we knew what was in for us. We knew where it could go. So we'll move forward. And whatever steps, whatever things we did to raise the extra 113 million to get to where we are now, we can still use that, and we will do it.
Premium Bank yesterday announced beginning full commercial operations after receiving its banking license from the central bank sometime in the second quarter of the year. So what's the branch expansion strategy as a new bank?
We'll have 8, but you know, in this day and age and with mobile money,
8 across the country?
Across the southern part of the country. We'll start with Accra, Kumasi and Takoradi. And in the next 1 year, that is ending 2017, right? Yeah, but you know, with mobile money and technology, the places it's going, having brick and mortar is not the only thing you can do. So yes, we will have some branches, but we will have a lot of technology as well. We'll have some branches, but we will also be using a lot of technology. I'm sure you are very much aware of what's happening with mobile money. It's exploding. So with mobile money, with MNOs, you know, the mobile money companies, partnering banks partnering fintechs, the sky is the limit. There's a lot of things you can do without necessarily having a brick and mortar branch.
Premium Bank has also reaffirmed its commitment to provide small and medium enterprises with tailored products and services towards boosting the economy at large.
And still staying within the banking industry, the managing director of HFC Bank, Robert Lehand, says the bank will take a critical look at oil and gas financing in local content in its operations from next year. This forms part of measures by the bank to complement the main focus of the parent bank in Trinidad and Tobago. He spoke with Joy Business in Accra during the opening of the bank's second branch in the University of Ghana campus.
Trinidad and Tobago is well noted for its long-term development of oil and gas. According to the managing director of HFC Bank, Robert Lehand, the oil and gas sector also plays a significant role in the growth of the country's economy, and therefore the decision to strengthen local enterprises within the sector. He said the bank will initiate measures to finance SMEs to take advantage of the growing oil and gas sector in the country.
Going next year, you have seen us gotten a lot more involved, leveraging on the strengths that we have had from our partners out of Trinidad in the oil and gas financing space. We think coming out and leveraging on that support out of Trinidad. And Trinidad and Tobago, as you know, is an oil producing country. We feel that we could make a big difference in that local content financing for oil and gas industry and in developing that sector. So we think our future is bright. Our financial results over the past 2 years doesn't reflect that, but we think that will change in 2017.
Mr. Lehan says the opening of the bank's branch on the University of Ghana campus is a strategy by the bank to reach out to all customers.
The university serves a very diverse group of different constituents, if I could steal a word from the election campaign. And therefore, we recognize that we needed to, this is HFC's solution to dealing with these different constituents. So our Legon branch, we are one of the first banks that have been here on campus. Our Legon branch is one of our more successful branches, and it serves a number of people in Legon and in the surrounding areas. And therefore, we didn't want to disturb that. We also think that there is a very discerning constituents made up of students and professors. All right, and we therefore felt that this branch will be suited and is really structured and caters for that particular group.
The new branch is equipped with internet and automated services to serve the modern banking needs of customers.
It's all on Business Live. We're taking a breather here. We'll be right back with the interview of the day. Thanks for staying. Now, in the interview of the day today, the Deputy Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Ekwa Feji, says appropriate strategies are being explored to revamp the stock market. The Ghana Stock Exchange has for some time now been recording low volumes of transactions by various listed companies.
It's the first day of trading. Normally, prices move up or down depending on demand and supply situation. So we hope to see what will happen when their results start coming out, financial results, etc.
What are you doing to improve the market performance? Because it's at this record low. What are you doing to whip up interest in the market for those who have invested in the market to get value for money?
We're going to do a few strategic things next year. One is to aggressively pursue listings on the market, get more companies to be listed. We also try very hard to continually educate investors so that at least we can improve liquidity on the market. Liquidity is basically a function of buying and selling of shares. So if you don't have people buying or selling, then liquidity is low. Thirdly, we want to increase the number of shares on the market. So companies are gradually being asked to float bigger or larger volumes of shares or higher quantities of shares so that we can have more shares being traded on the market. The other last thing we'd like to do is to use technology. We're going to introduce more features in our system. We'll have what we call borrowing and lending. Now that we have the new securities industry law, borrowing and lending is simply you borrowing the shares from people who are not selling them or doing anything with them and going to the market to sell and paying back later on. That's an interesting feature. We'll be looking at market making where we can have institutions or intermediaries standing there to buy and sell all the time to provide liquidity on the market. So these are a few things that we'll be introducing next year to boost the liquidity on the market so that retail investors can see some activity on the market.
And that will be it for Business Live today. Thank you very much for your company, and make a date again, same time tomorrow, for more interesting developments in the world of business. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Up next, Focus on Africa.